Right. So now we're looking at the second order of love. And the second order of love is the question, who comes first? And it's also called the order of precedence. So what are we looking at today? In German, it is called Ursprungsordnung, which is translated as the order of precedence. That's the second order of love. The first order of love was the order of inclusion or belonging. The second order of love is the order of precedence, or who comes first. We will also look how this all, once you know who comes first, what is the second order of love, how this all plays up in a patchwork or a blended family, which is quite what we get these days often in the constellation. We will also see how this order works in organizations. And we will finally, we will start with it. We will start with looking at family constellation and phenomenology. So the phenomenological approach, that's a tongue twister for me, is something that is known in, when you work academic, you know that there is a science methodology and then there is the phenomenological approach, right? And Bert Hellinger has used this approach to discover and unveil the orders of love. Of course, you know he hasn't invented that. It is just something that he has seen and then described like a phenomenon, right? And how did he do that? So first of all, the translation is study of things as they appear in our experience. That's the legal definition of this approach. That means you're studying something through observation. Oh, hi, Heber, be careful. I see you're driving. Finding similarities and forming a rule, yeah? And then testing the rule, of course, testing it in different environments and see if it's always the same. And then you come to your conclusion, this is actually an order, like he calls it an order. This is actually a rule. And that is opposed to the academical or the scientific approach, where you start with the hypothesis. And then you try to find proof for it through experiences. Now, what is the problem with this the scientific approach? If you start with a hypothesis, what do you think? Do you know how reality is created? Have you ever thought of that? What is creating reality is expectation. Yeah. Now, when you have a hypothesis and you have an expectation of a certain outcome, and the reality is that this will actually happen that way, most likely, because this is how creation works. You're looking through the eyes of your expectation. This is narrowing what you perceive into something, right? And the phenomenological approach is widening it, because you don't expect any outcome. You just observe it. So this is why this approach allows for more information to come and to put it into a rule. So having said that, so we sometimes, because Bert Hellinger was working with this principle, we would sometimes come back to this phenomenological approach, and then you know what I mean by it when I mention it, yeah? Okay, now we go right into the order of birth. We are here to find out the second order of love, which is the order of precedence, and which you can describe as who comes first. Now, when we think about who comes first, we have to think about our mother. She has given birth to us, obviously, right? So this is quite obvious that he came before us. The same is for the father. The father came before us. There is nothing nobody who came before the father or before the mother, not in one lifetime. The children come after the parents. That includes the siblings. They have a specific order that's also important to obey. Then we will see how this all pans out when there is an adopted child in the siblings. What about missing children? Where do they belong in the second order of love? And then we have the grandparents. Now, the grandparents came before the children, but also before the parents, right? So the grandparents are the ones who come first. And before the grandparents, of course, we have the ancestors in the generations, how they came first, right? So if you want to look at it from the source, and we are going back 7 generations, then you know the 7th generation comes before the 6th, before the 5th, before the 4th, before the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st generation, right? And then the children come after, and the grandchildren come after that. So that is quite logical, and is obviously what we perceive in life as well, and it's easy to memorize. Well, it gets more complicated than that later on, but we take the simple approach for now, right? So let's talk about the mother. Although she's not the one who comes, who was the first, because the first is an ancestor, but the mother is our most important relationship in life. It's our first relationship, and it will always be our most important relationship, no matter what happens, right? The mother-child bond is the strongest in nature. Yeah. So now it's time to introduce your mother to us. And I just wonder, Heba, how you do that? Can you park somewhere, or how are you going to do that?
I just need 10 more minutes to reach. Or I can park for 5 minutes if you need to do this now, no problem.
Okay, so you continue driving, and we start with the other 3, and then we see how close you are to home. Yeah?
Okay.
Awesome. Yes. Okay, who wants to start to introduce the mother? Is there anybody who has a picture of the mother on the desktop who wants to share it? Yeah, Eva, you want to do that? Okay, then I let you. Then you start, and I let you share it. So I stop this sharing, and then I set you up so you can share. Okay, that's not working. Multiple participants. Here we go. Now you can share.
Okay, thank you. So I think that now you can see my screen, yes?
Yes. Oh, I thought it's you there. No, it's your mother. Look at the similarities.
Yeah, so it's my mother. Her name is Ilse. She's 54 years old, and she's working as a nurse in reanimation. So it's like pretty hard. And so it was all the time when I was a little girl. So I remember she was working hard because those during day-night shifts that people who work in hospitals they have. But she's very lovely. Now she has a possibility to travel around, so she's enjoying that. And at the moment, she's still single because I lost my dad when I was 11, and till that time, yeah, she's still single. But I hope that maybe someday she's gonna find someone who will be, I think, a nice partner to her to spend her life and have fun and simply to enjoy those days.
Wonderful. Thank you so much to introduce your mother. What's her name?
Ilse.
Ilse.
Yeah. In Latvian, it's a very popular name. It's Ilse.
It's also in Germany a very popular name.
Mm-hmm.
And she is also from the same town where she lives now, or has she moved?
No, she's from the same town.
Same town. Also where you are?
Mm-hmm. I am further from this town, but still more or less it's like pretty close.
Yeah, very good. How would you describe your relationship to her?
It's one topic with whom I need to still work in my family constellations, because now I feel that we are like separating a little bit, but it's like that we need to separate. But at the moment, it's not so easy because our relationship stays complicated. I feel that she needs more attention. She wants to spend more time with me because she doesn't have anybody else. My sister, but my sister lives much further, so I'm the closest one, and yeah, it's pretty hard for me. And then next week, yes, I have family constellation, and I feel that I will work with this topic.
Very good. Well, rest assured, you're not alone. Nobody who I have ever met in the real life or in the realm of family constellation has not started with the work and with the relationship with the mother, because this is the most natural part to start. And we all have some disturbances there, no matter how loving the mother might be. So yeah, that's really, really good place to start. Thank you for sharing and introducing your mother and bringing your mother in to the course, so we know we have her support. Thank you. Right. How about you, Saida? Do you have a picture there?
I do, and let me see how I can.
On the bottom of your Zoom window, there's a share. There's an arrow that says share. Yep, you got it.
Yeah. So interestingly, this is actually, I think this is the wedding photo of my parents.
All
Because
right.
I asked my sisters actually if they had a picture of my dad, and so they did. But anyway, they sent me this one. So yeah, gosh, in this picture, she just looks so young and innocent, and
Totally. How old was
even
she?
then, I am 20, 19. So this is one of the interesting things. So she was born at the time of partition of and born in India, and then had to move to Pakistan because she was Muslim, born in India, and India was going to become the Hindu country, and Pakistan was going to become the Muslim country.
All right.
So when she was a few weeks old, or maybe even a few days old, they had to basically leave their home and move to Pakistan. And she says that her older brother, older by like a year or two, was frustrated because he was like, if this baby cries, we could, they could all have been killed. So my mum had to be silent, even though she was a baby in that journey, or that's how she remembers it.
Wow.
So she got married when she was 20, moved to the UK pretty much immediately, and actually I was born 8 months after she got married. Or no, sorry, 9 months after, and I was born prematurely.
Wow.
Yeah, she's been through a lot in her life. I think as I grow older and maybe a bit more mature, I moved from my teenage angst to having a lot of respect for the things that she did, because I know my life wouldn't be what it is had she not made certain choices. And my parents had a very turbulent relationship. They got divorced when I was 7. And I'm the oldest of 5. The youngest child died of a cot death. So I have 3 sisters that are alive. And what's she like now? So I'd say now she's kind of like mid-70s, really quite ill, takes lots of medications, and has mellowed, so she still can be fiery and is very clear about what she wants, which sometimes is a bit challenging. But I think I've become much more sympathetic towards her because I just reflect on her life journey, which I think has been quite complex. She never remarried. Actually, that's not quite true. She did remarry, but in Dubai, where she lived for a few years. But that was kind of, I don't know, I want to describe it as hidden, but it wasn't like a public or open marriage, let's put it like that. But that was only for a few years, and then she kind of got divorced and then moved back again to the UK. She lives by herself at the moment. We used to live with her. My younger sister used to live with her as well. And part of the reason we moved out was because it just became too complex and difficult for my teenage children. And it was like, if we stay there, then they're going to end up quite messed up. And we had to make the decision to move. But having done that, I think our relationship is really quite good. I mean, last weekend she ended up in hospital, and I was the first person she called. And interestingly, what comes from that? So I think after my parents split up, I don't know whether this is the right word or not, but it feels like naturally I kind of stepped into the role of the other, you know, I don't know, parent's not the right word, but, you know, the other kind of senior person within our family dynamic. So I have lots of responsibility. Even now, my sisters come to me, and I don't mind that stuff. But it does at the same time have a little bit more weight than it, you know, being the older sibling might do otherwise.
Wonderful. And there's a lot to say about that. And we will talk about all of this probably today or tomorrow. So just to let you know, that is totally in order to do that. What is the name of your mother?
Tayyiba.
Ah, yeah, you said that. Yeah.
Mm.
So how would you describe your relationship to your mother?
I spent a lot of time not knowing if she loved me. Which I think is unfair. But when I was young, I was also quite ill, and she, you know, she really could do a good job of caring for me. You know, it's complex. I find it really hard to say that I love her, like on the phone or when I see her, she'll be like, "I love you," and I find it really difficult. But I know I do at the same time. You know.
That's also something we will talk about this later on today. That is also a phenomenon that is very common in the relationship.
It's
with
making
the
me quite sad actually, but you know, yeah. And it's funny. I'm wondering why I chose this picture of her, because in it she just looks so innocent, and you know, she has no idea of the things that are coming up for her in the rest of her life, and I wouldn't wish some of that on anyone.
Yeah. And yet she looks very determined to me in this for a young age.
Yeah, because I mean, which other, you know, 20-year-old is going to leave Pakistan to come to the UK and literally, because her marriage was arranged, but arranged in the old-fashioned way. So she met her husband in the morning, they were married in the evening, and I think a couple of weeks later they left to come to the UK. And she had lots of suitors before, as did my dad, and they both kept saying no, but they said yes to each other.
Interesting, huh? Very interesting. Well, thank you very much for sharing, Saida. Wonderful to meet your mother, and that she's with us in this course, and that we have her support as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Navjoti, are you ready?
Can you see her?
Yes, we can. Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So that's my mother. That's how she looks currently. It's a recent photograph. Well,
do you want to put your video on, Navjoti, so we can see you while you talk?
Oh, sorry. I didn't hear.
No worries.
Yeah.
Do you need to attend to your child, or do you want? Is it okay?
No, they're okay. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Yeah, you go.
No, it just, it stopped on its own, the video. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't know what to say. say, can you ask me a question? I don't think.
Sure, what's her name?
Her name is Mohinder Kaur.
Mohinder.
Yeah.
Nice. And what do you know about the past of your mother? How she got married? What happened that she got pregnant with you? You know anything?
Yes. She met my father. In India, you had only arranged marriages at the time, so they met once or twice before they got married, and she got married around the age of 19. By 20, she had 20 or 21. I mean, within a year of marriage, within 10 months, I think. So she had my older brother, who's 4 years older than me. And then when she was around 24, 25, she had me. And there's just two of us siblings. My father is 8 years older than her. So as he was the oldest of brothers, so he had 7 or 8 younger siblings than him. She was the youngest in her family, the youngest of 5, it seems. So it was not only did they have an age gap, but they were also the oldest and the youngest. So she has always said that she was quite a child when she got married, and although she was in awe of how much older and mature my father was, she also felt that in terms of mutual understanding. They always had a very, very, very tough marriage. In India, divorce is taboo, so that should never happen. But other than that, it never worked.
Okay, so to make it quick, would you quickly describe your relationship to her? How would you describe that?
Bad, very bad, very, very, very bad.
Bad. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a typical conservative Orthodox North Indian family.
I don't think we can understand you anymore. Try it again.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My nanny is not in today. Everyone had a tough time. It was a conservative Orthodox North Indian family. They were both raised in the village, and they both moved to the city for the first time. We moved from city to city. My father had a government job, so she was always the housewife, and she always said that she has suffered and she has never been happy. And along with our parents, we also suffered. So for me, she's always looked sad and upset and angry. That's how I've always seen her. Yeah, I've always seen her only like that.
What makes you say your relationship is bad?
Well, it's something that's very common in India. So it's not like that I'm the only one, but you get beaten up a lot by your parents. So ever since I can remember, I used to get hit a lot by her, by my father too, but also by her. So, and a lot of restrictions, a lot of judgment, a lot of moralizing. So and that has stayed till date, even till date. When she talks to me, she might get angry. She might say, "I'll slap you." So nothing is fixed yet. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for sharing and bringing your mother here, so we can include her in our group and have her spiritual support, even though she doesn't know that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Heba, you just need to unshare, eh? Navjot, yeah. Okay, fantastic.
Okay. So just a second, I'm trying to find the picture.
Sure.
Here. Okay, you can see it.
Yes, we do.
All right, so this is the most recent picture for her.
Mhm.
We took it when we were renewing her passport last November.
Where you're not
Yeah.
allowed to smile. I know nowadays. Yeah,
Yes.
I know. It's
No,
so.
she was also not feeling much well. She just had a surgery in her back, and we had a rough trip to Egypt to renew her passport because it was already expired for almost a year.
Oh, it's an Egypt passport. Hmm? Oh, have I? Your
Yeah.
video is off. Can you put the video on again?
Oh, okay. All
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So,
So tell us a little bit about your mother. Whatever you want to share.
well, I believe you already know half of the story. um, so her name is Amina. Uh, she's 71 now, I think. She got married old, of course, by the terms of back in the days. She was 28, I think, or something like that, which was considered, you know, any getting married after 25 was considered to be made old maiden anyway.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing is that um, my father, he they were introduced through my aunt's husband. He's a friend of my father, and then when they were living in Kuwait, when my father went to visit them, he told him, you haven't got married yet, and he was like, no, I think he was trying to get engaged and already bought the gold and everything, but things didn't go through. And he told him that he has his wife's sister. She's still also unmarried if he wants to meet her. And my father, he was like, no, I'm not interested. And then I think maybe 1 year or 2 years later, uh, he went back again to visit them in Kuwait, and he proposed the same thing to my father. And this time he was like, okay, whatever, I'll just see her, and then we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah, so um, they were introduced to each other, and then they got married. So basically it was more or less not really arranged, but still they didn't know each other very well when they got married. They were introduced and then they got married in a week or something like that, because he was in a hurry to come to the UAE, because he has some contract here. So I think it's the classical story. Also, their marriage was not very smooth. But she always says that it was good at first, and then somewhere in, down the line, he just started uh, like um, caring more about his family back in Egypt, his parents and his sisters, and sending more money there rather than attending to us. So he was like just providing like the basic needs, but anything more than that, he wouldn't pay for it. So she had to go out to work, for example, to get us the Eid clothes and these things with toys and these things, because he were like, no, these things are not important. So why should I waste my money on it? And basically, he was just spending the money, most of his money, back in his home country, in his hometown, for his parents and his sisters. My relationship with her, you already know. She keeps telling me, "You're my mother. You're my mother." She's very dependent on me, and it might seem like she got dependent only as she got older and she started to need more assistance. But thinking more about it, she was dependent on me way before, when I maybe like was 10 or 11, or maybe even before that. After my baby sister Sarah was born, it was difficult for her because she's especially a child. And I just took, like I co-parented with her for my sister, and she has been my responsibility ever since. So I do love my mother. I love my sister. I can't deny that this makes a little bit more difficult for me, my life, because sometimes I have to put um, their needs first. And I know it's not healthy and it's not right. I'm still working on it. Yeah, but overall, we rarely disagree. She says that I've always been an obedient child, did everything they needed and wanted even before they even asked for it. And other than my marriage, then we never have any disagreement. This is the only thing that we disagreed on, that she didn't like my ex-husband. Yeah.
And he might was right because it's ex.
Um, I don't know. People change. He also wasn't that way when we first got married, and he made his choice.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
How would you describe your relationship with your mother?
As I said, it's she's very dependent on me,
Mhm.
and sometimes it gets uncomfortable and difficult, and especially that you know, uh, Reem doesn't really my sister. She keeps telling me, "Don't get me in, don't get me stuck in this." And when my brother is around, he helps a little bit, so it makes it easier. But he's been away for 6 months now in Egypt, taking care of some family business. So um, this is when I started feeling the pressure. But in general, I just love her. I appreciate her. Appreciate everything she has done. I also appreciate my father. I know after the sessions we have done with you, I know where his behavior came from, and I just love them both, and I appreciate everything they have done for me. And I'm just trying to keep a balance, make a balance, so that I can also start having my own.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you so much, Eva, for
Yeah.
bringing her into the group and talking about her and also your struggles. This is all beautiful when we hear your stories with your mother, because you will see when we are going through today's teaching content that we are pretty much touching on everything that you have mentioned, because you are not alone, right? Everything you have mentioned, everybody else has mentioned, this has happened before and it will always happen, and it is kind of a natural occurrence. And thank goodness we have the tools to find our way through this jungle and to find also that what brings relief into the relationship. Hmm?
Yeah,
Very
I'll
good.
just take a couple of minutes to move to my laptop because I'm on the phone. So
Absolutely. You
yeah,
go.
thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very good. Thank you. Okay, so now that we have met the mothers, we go back to our slides and we will talk about how the mother is perceived in the second order of love, the order of precedence. So there is a saying from Bert Hellinger, and I put it right up in front here because it's super important. Success has mother's face. That meaning that when somebody finds themselves unsuccessful, and that could be in any lines of work or in relationships or whatever is it that one wants to be successful in, and fails repeatedly, then that is a hint that the mother relationship is not in the second order of love. Yeah? And it needs fixing or mending. What needs to be mended there? So remember, success has mother's face. And I will ask you that in a few months, and then you will answer me that. Okay? Now let's talk about the bond between child and mother. Obviously, it's a very strong bond, right? And I'm not talking about surrogacy here or adoption. I'm just talking about natural conceiving and carrying the child in the womb for 9 months and then giving birth to the child, and then of course caring for the child until it can care for itself, right? So that is what forms the bond to the mother. And because there is no other person where you have the same bond with, this is a very strong bond. This is also easy to be disappointed about, yeah, because there is a lot of expectation, both from mother to child, from child to mother, yeah, and disappointment can come easy Much more easier than with the father bond, for example, which is a little bit more simple than the mother bond. What are the expectations? What are the expectations towards the mother? Now, from a soul level, the expectations towards the mother is to give life. That's it. Yeah. The soul comes into the family, or the soul comes into earth and embodies a physicality, a body that is formed by the nourishment from the mother, what the mother eats, or what the mother gives to the placenta, and cares for her and makes sure that the baby is safe, and then give birth to the child. And obviously she was successful because the people you're working with, they are still alive. So it was a successful story. And then it nourishes through breastfeeding, and then to feeding, and to cleaning the bottom, and then to washing here. And you know what mothers do, yeah? They do a lot in the background, even if we intend to forget it. To raise us, it makes sure that we are safe and that we are nourished and that we have enough to eat. And that's it. That's it. That's a mother's job, right? But expectations are different. We are putting a lot of more expectations onto the mother. She has to do things in a specific way. She should say this, but not that. She should this, she should that. And this is coming from the perspective of a hurt child, yeah. And these expectations that are disturbing the relationships to the mother. And of course, we have the opposite. The mother has expectations towards the child, while there is no room for expectations towards the child, because she has on a soul level agreed to give birth to this child and raises so it can look after itself, but she has not on a soul level agreed upon that this child follows her path. Yeah, this comes later, and it comes from the ego mind, of course. Yeah, and from traditions. And remember what we talked about, the conscience. Yeah, the personal conscious and the collective conscious. There where all these expectations come from, also from the mother towards the child. And they are clashing, of course. And when they are clashing, then the relationship is fragile and maybe also described as not smooth or even bad. But on a soul level, I repeat, all of this plays no role. The fact alone that you are here, healthy, have your own life, proves to me your mother did everything right. That's it. It's so easy. It's that simple. And everything else is mind-made. And of course, there comes in traumas, which we talk about in a minute, that makes it even more difficult to allow this natural bond to the mother to be in the foreground, and then this unnatural expectations that come from the mind, they are kind of overwriting it. And that can also be due to trauma. Now, there's two ways there can be a mother relationship. It could be a mother-daughter or a mother-son relationship. And they both have different twists and different expectations as well. And most of you come off from a tradition where, as far as I know, often the sons were valued more than the daughters. Is that correct? Yeah. So So in India and in Dubai, that would be the case. Yeah. And in Latvia, not so much. It's more
No, not at all.
It's more the Westernly style.
Yeah.
And how about in UK also not, of course. That's more the Westernly style, I suppose.
Yeah, it's interesting when you say that, because my parents only had girls. And my dad was, my mom tells me that both of them were incredibly proud of the fact that they had daughters, which is going against some of the cultural norms. Because Islamically, if you have a girl, it's a very different if you have a boy and you're supposed to treasure her and all of this other stuff. And that's what they went with, as opposed to some of the kind of, let's say, cultural stuff, as you were touching on from India and the Indian subcontinent, which kind of goes against some of what Islam says.
Interesting, yeah. Very interesting. Right. So you see, traditions or family systems who have like this collective conscience, they form different belief systems around all of this, and this forms expectations. Of course. But I come back to the bare fact that the souls that have agreed, here is the mother and there's a child that that wants to be born as a girl in a female body for some very particular reasons, to experience this lifetime through the eyes of a female body, which is different to the male body, has chosen that this bond would be the best start to do so for some reason. We never know. And when we are looking at our own mother relationship, I would like you to remember that there is a remembrance through all this trauma, through all this expectation, through all this conscience, the belief systems, the culture, everything. This is like clouds or fluffy stuff that is clouding the clear view towards what really is. Yeah, that the mother has fulfilled her duty to give birth and raise you in a manner that you are surviving. And what you don't have the duty as a child to fulfill her expectations, or walk in her shoes, or even worship the same religion, or whatever. That is not the role that the soul has chosen to play. Yeah, that is what society chooses, not the soul. So just be aware of that. And the mother-daughter relationship. So we have Saeed. Do you have daughters yourself?
Me, Sayeda.
Yeah.
I have one. My oldest child is a girl, and my second is a boy.
Right. So you have both. And Eva, do you have children? No. And Navjoti, do you have boy, girl, both?
2 boys.
2 boys. We have here 2 boys. Okay. And Heba? No children. Right. You have a sister. You have 2 sisters and a brother. Heba. Okay. Now, so there is a specific problematics in the mother-daughter relationship that can be. Sometimes it's about the father, right? Sometimes the father has a tendency to treat a daughter like a wife. Yeah, that causes, of course, imbalance, great imbalance and disturbance between the mother-daughter relationship. Sometimes the mother and daughter are too similar, and that clashes often. Yeah. So these things are, sometimes the daughter is completely different to the mother. That also clashes then, because the mother has expectations that the daughter is a little mini me. Yeah. She should be like me, just a little bit better than me, but like me, right? And obviously, no daughter can fulfill that expectation, and should not at all fulfill it. Yeah. And then we have, of course, mother and son relationship. That is normally not so turbulent. Yeah. I don't know whether you have experienced that in your family with your siblings or with your own children. Maybe Saida, you want to share? Do you find any difference between your relationship to your daughter and your son?
I do, and interestingly, my son was the first male child in 2 generations. So my sister had a child before me, and it was a girl, and my mum didn't have any girls. So when my son was born, it was very interesting receiving him into the extended family as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it is different, and I'm very conscious that it's different. And if I'm honest, I find sometimes my son can be more triggering to me than my daughter.
Interesting. Very good.
Yeah.
Interesting. So nothing is shipped in stone here. And of course, it could be always different. So this is not something that needs to be like this. But most mothers reporting they have a better swing with their sons than with their daughters. Especially, how old are your children, Saida?
My daughter is 18 and my son's 17.
Ah, yeah. Okay. Wow. That's very interesting to know. That works well with your daughter. Because when they are teenage girls, they are most often rebelling more against the mother than the son, because the bond is probably kind of stronger between mother and daughter, and then also the pain to, like, what you do in teenage years, to part and cut loose and go your own ways and free yourself from the constraints of your parents, especially the mother, is often stronger when with the daughter than with the son. And it's also, there's a saying, I don't know whether you have the same, but it's in German, it's a saying that when you have a daughter and, you know, she grows up and she may marry, you lose a daughter, but if you have a son, you gain a daughter, which is your daughter-in-law, right? So this is kind of a bit the saying, Germany. I don't know whether you know that from your culture as well. Yeah. Right. Okay. And then when we are family constellation, if we look at the mother-daughter relationship and the mother-son relationship, then this is also something to bear in your mind. It's the same with the son and the mother. The soul agreement is to give birth, to raise this child in the male body, so it can stand on their own feet, can feed themselves, and can have their own life. Yeah, this is a soul agreement. Everything else is expectation, coming from socio backgrounds, society backgrounds, coming from the collective conscience, coming from belief systems that are held in the family system, and so forth. So, what is the big thing, the big problem in the mother relationship is the letting go. Because we know we all have been bound to our mother for 9 months through the umbilical cord. And our first struggle is to let go of it when we are going through the birth canal. And that's also the first trauma for each and every child in one way or the other. Because there is this urge to let go of the mother and then the fear to do it at the same time. This is causing what Bert Hellinger calls an interrupted movement towards the mother. And it's translated from, it's a mouthful, I know, but it's in Germany. In German, it sounds a little bit more logical or more pleasing. Unterbrochene Hinbewegung zur Mutter. So that means you let go from the mother, yeah, but you definitely don't want to part from the mother, obviously, because the mother is still the one that you need desperately to survive, to give you nutrition, to care for you, you know, to give you warmth, to give you everything you need. And when you were moving towards the mother, that's a natural movement towards the mother, and there's a trauma that is suddenly interrupting the movement, like the mother is not there in this moment when the child needs it. Probably she's sick or the child is sick, they are parted, one goes in the hospital, or the mother needs to go away from work, or whatever it can be. There are so many ways, and we will talk about that in greater detail in module 4 as well. That is causing this trauma. But the birth itself is already an interrupted movement towards the mother in a way. So no one is really free of these traumas. And Bert Hellinger has a beautiful way to heal these traumas. And that is coming up a lot in family constellation. And you will see that. You will go through it and you will observe it, and you will later on also work a lot with it. So be prepared for that. That's our bread and butter work, if you will. Yeah. And practically everyone starts there who starts with family constellation. Rarely they start somewhere else. So then we need to know about what is mother's love and what is children's love. Yeah. because we are talking about the orders of love. And how does that look? How does it feel? And I don't want to talk a lot about it. I would like you to have to make an exercise about it. Yeah. So the exercise is. Oh no, I didn't write it down. So let me stop sharing. The exercise is that I put you in the breakout rooms in 2 groups. Yeah. So you are the 2 of you, and you have 10 minutes, 5 minutes each. And one of you is representing, and maybe Navjoti, you can find a quiet spot for that for the next 10 minutes, if that is possible. And if you lock yourself in the toilet or something like that, I don't know whether you can do that. But so you find you are together in your group, and one is representing yourself. So you represent yourself, and the partner is representing your mother. Yeah. And I would like you to stay present with your mother. You look your partner in the eyes. Yeah. If you wear glasses, you may take them off so they're not reflecting too much the computer light. And then you do not talk. You're just looking in the eyes of your mother. Yeah. And you're observing purely what comes up for you. And the one who is representing the mother is also not saying something, but what you feel, you can make a mental note, what you feel, and share later when we are coming together again, what you have felt being or resonating with the mother. Yeah? And then after 5 minutes, I would send you a chat in the chat room and message. Then you swap and you do the same. Yeah? Understood? Yeah? Okay, very good. So, and obviously you need to be unmuted for this exercise. So, I will create the breakout rooms that's assigned automatically. And here you go. Wonderful. Welcome back. So let's share what you have experienced in this little exercise. Who wants to start? Hands up. Yep. Navjoti.
Which part do I talk about? Being the
Both.
child or being
Both.
both?
So who was your partner?
Sayita. So so I became the child first. I was looking at her, and within the first 30 seconds, I had tears, and then something about what you had said about the mother's task. Just I could not see anything in her past that. I could just say that this is my mother and she gave birth to me and I survived because of her. And at 1 or 2 points, I even tried bringing back all that things, but I could not. I just could not. I could only say, this is my mother and she gave birth to me. And it just stayed like that the whole time.
And how did that feel to you?
It's the first time I connected. It's the first time I felt connected because I've tried millions of things to heal, you can imagine, to get over this gap with her. But today there was nothing, there was nothing in it. I literally felt the nothingness. There's no more to her than the one who gave birth to me, and I was alive and only that experience. So I could be at peace in that emptiness.
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So you have looked into the soul of your mother, right?
Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And how was it when you were representing Saida's mother?
Oh, I was suddenly again, the first time I cried as a child, it was, the first 30 seconds were out of, I don't know, pain or whatever, and then that dissipated. But here, again, I started crying almost immediately, but because I was bursting with love for her. So, and I couldn't stop smiling. I just, I was smiling from ear to ear, and I felt such extreme love for her. And just, I felt that throughout. And towards the end, I felt that, okay, now I'm coming from a place of joy and exuberance and, loving her so much into a place of peace and calm. And then towards the very end, almost sort of disappearing, yeah. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. And Saida, how was it for you?
So it was fascinating. I mean, so when I was the mother, it was really interesting watching now Jyoti, and I don't know, I just wanted to kind of say to her it was okay, and then during the thing I was kind of thinking, like, the primary thing that came up for me was you are a better mum than me. You're able to juggle all of these different things, and at one point, your son came to you and things, and I was like, you're able to be here and be present and also look after him, and I couldn't do all of these things. And so I don't know if this is right or wrong, but what came up for me was this huge thing of awe and kind of like real respect, but also a little bit of envy.
Interesting.
And I got really upset about that, because I thought, I should be happy for my child having these things, but I'm also upset that I don't.
Is there something, Navjyoti, that reminds you of your mother?
Yes, it's stunning, she says, envy, because I was in therapy for many, many years, and one of the main things my therapist tried to tell me was, I'm sorry, but your mother has been extremely jealous of you the whole time, and you have to, and she would try to help me work around it, and I would never understand how can a mother be jealous, and this comes again. So yeah,
very good. Thank you for the feedback. Now you know, Saida, that you were representing her mother, feeling this. Very good. And how was it for you being your own child?
I felt really loved, and it was very strange, because like I don't think I felt that before. And as we were spending more time together, I was thinking, you know what, like I have to tell her that I love her, because it's what I'm feeling as well. And despite all of the stuff, actually, and I don't know, I wanted to say you did a great job,
Wonderful.
like I'm here because of you,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just felt a huge amount of gratitude towards that, and the fact that, she persisted and she carried on, and she was just really present despite all of the drama that was going on. She still did an extraordinary job.
Very good. Very, very good. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And the next group, who wants to start? Eva?
Yeah, so when we started, I started as the mother of Eva, and looking at her, first thing I had like an overwhelming feeling of warmth and love for her. And I was thinking she was such a good girl, such an easy child. And then I started feeling a little bit guilty, because I wasn't a good mother. I didn't give her everything she needed, and she only like received a fraction of what a mother was supposed to do for a child. So it also felt a little bit sad that I want her to have a better life, that she can still receive whatever I failed to give her, even if she would get it like from somewhere else.
Very good. Does this remind you of your mother, Eva?
Yeah, first I thought that this exercise the first time is like not so hard for me because I have done something similar like years before. But now when Heba talks about her feelings, I feel that like I'm almost crying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very good. And Hiba, how was it when you were representing yourself and you met your mother?
I could feel that she's having a lot of hopes and expectations from me. And a little bit like guilty for having to struggle to juggle around between fulfilling their needs and taking care of myself and having my own life.
Are you talking for yourself or for your mother?
For me,
Ah, yeah.
yeah.
So you felt guilty that she had you.
No, I feel guilty that I'm not being able to fulfill these expectations.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, because I'm juggling around and I'm struggling to, to fulfill their needs, and then at the same time to do what I need to do for myself or what I want to do for myself.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Thank you for sharing. And Eva.
Yeah, so first of all, I'm gonna start with the feelings, what I felt when I was Heba's mother. So when I was looking at her at first, I had like a little bit headache. Suddenly, like it was like fulfilling my mind with different kind of thoughts, and it was like pretty hard to see her. Like she was like a little bit blurring, but then it stayed a little bit calmer. And then what I felt respect and also some kind of I forgot this word in English. Proud. I felt proud of her. I really proud, but it was like not like, yeah, I'm so happy about you, but it was more like, yes, I'm proud of her that you're doing like good and I really feel confident about you. That was the feeling that I felt. It was calm, it was like strong feeling, but later I had like still, I was looking at her feeling this good feelings, but still having like some pain in my neck here on that side and also on my right knee and yeah, kneecap somewhere around that place. And it was like hurting and I was trying to look at her, but still that pain is going around, and I
Interesting,
simply because
Eva.
of that, yeah, it was a
Yeah.
little bit hard.
Yeah. That does sound like your mother, though. Always some pain.
Yeah, she does have some problems with her neck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I felt that feeling. It really messed me up, and it made hard to look at you because only because of those physical feelings, not because of
She
emotions.
lost her sight in one eye. She lost her sight in one eye. I think maybe 3 years or 4 years ago. So maybe that's why you were seeing blurry, because she lost the sight in one eye.
Yeah. Of course.
But you felt really proud of you and confident and calm.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And how was it when you were the child and you met your mother?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, it was the first time when I was looking in my eyes of my mother and felt confident about myself because different times I already started crying like in the first second and it was always hard for me. But now I look at it, Heba's eyes and felt also confident, calm. And what was interesting, when I was looking in Heba's eyes, I noticed how similar they are to my mother's eyes because we both have dark brown eyes and everything. She was like, sometimes my mother does the same, but she's looking at me, and then I feel that she starts to feel uncomfortable and she starts to look somewhere around. And Heb also, she was debating and then starting to look a little bit like somewhere else, because I know that my mother can't handle that kind of looking each of other. She's like feeling uncomfortable, and the same was with Heba at the beginning, yes, and then she already also started to joke a little bit. Mother does the same. She can't handle when, for example, I express my emotions. She's like, oh, look what the cat did. And Heba was the same. She's like, do you want to switch?
Isn't that wonderful? Magic. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. So you have seen you can do a family constellation without a facilitator. Yeah, well, it's not a constellation, it's an exercise, but you know, you are connecting with the morphic field and see how accurately you are representing somebody else's family member. Amazing. And what comes out. And I'm glad you said that you have done that before, Eva, because that's actually true. This mother exercise is in Albert Hörlinger's workshops, that is always coming up, and I have done that also multiple times. And this is not something that you do once. That is something that you continue to do. You continue to meet your mother on a soul level in a family constellation, and every single time something else will come up, and another layer of disguise of the pure love relationship with your mother will fall away. This is actually like this. Wonderful. Well done, everyone. Wonderful. So let's move on to the father.
May I ask a quick
yeah,
break
go.
before we do that? Or
Yeah.
are you planning the break after this?
Oh, you need to go to your break. When do you want the break? I don't mind.
I'm happy to break now for 5 minutes or something, but
Let's do that.
please, for everyone else, if
Yep.
they,
Yep, that's what we do. We have a break now. It's a 10 minutes break. So it's 20 past 7 here. So I see you at 7:30. Yeah? In your
thank
own
you
time.
so much. Thank
See
you.
you then. Wonderful. So let's move on to the father and what we have to find for ourselves and work with clients in the father relationship. So first of all, of course, I'm keen to see your father and that you introduce your father to our group. Who wants to start? Eva, you ready? Okay. Are you able to share? Let me just check if
Yeah.
it's still. Yeah.
Oh no, you need to give me permission.
Still okay. It went. It went. No, hang
Yeah.
on. You
Yeah.
can.
It's
Yeah.
okay now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So first
What
of
I have to
all,
do is hang on. I need to
yeah.
stop sharing, obviously.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't have my father's picture with myself here because I'm in different town at the moment. But if honestly, then I have only one picture when he is alone where I can see him. But I brought his name because it's much easier for me when I see his name and his surname to make a vision in my mind. Because as I mentioned before, I lost my father when I was 11 years old. He died in a car accident and he was really young. He was 32 at that moment. He was only 1 year older than me at this time. So it's pretty often makes me, making a little comparison, like when I put ourselves at those times together and I'm looking that, okay, he was a little bit older than me. And at the moment I'm doing that, and he was already having me and my sister and making some things like that in my mind. But what's the main idea? He was really beautiful. That was like really, he was like a charming prince and with blonde hair and blue eyes. You can see I know everything from my mother, but he was like totally different in his visual appearance, but also in his characteristics, because I'm looking like my mother, but I'm more in my temperament like he. He was like very fast driving in his like goal driving, and also very charismatic. He was open-minded. He wanted to talk with people. He had a very good sense of humor. He was like, oh, as I said, he was like Prince Charming. But unfortunately, as it's sometimes it is, at the same time, he had this alcohol abuse, and then he was like, yeah, he used a lot. And that was the reason when he had this car accident, then there were two cars together, but the four people died. But the first car, the guy what was driving this car was under drugs, but he was under alcohol. So it's like poof, making my mind, yeah. But more or less, yes, I have a lot of good things from his. And I remember then when I was a small girl, he was like really taking care of me. I was his little girl and I was helping him with fixing cars because he fixed cars and do stuff like that. And I always loved to visit him and to make clear room for him to cook and bake. It was like when I was like 7 and 8 years old, I already baked and cooked for him because I wanted to take care of him also. And we have like a really good relationship.
Wonderful. So if you have to put it in a word also, how would you describe your relationship to your father right now? Like, what do you feel towards your father right now?
I don't know how to say it in English. Maybe you can help me to find the word, because the feeling of that is that no, I thank him as he is. I don't want to change or I don't want to judge. I simply take him as he is, and it's okay for me.
You are acceptant
Yeah,
or
acceptance.
grateful?
Yes, yeah, a
Mm.
feeling like acceptance of him and gratefulness also.
Wonderful. And a little bit of sadness, of course. Yeah. Thank you for sharing and bringing your father to the group, and so we have his spiritual support. That's wonderful. And the next one, who's ready to share? Heba, are you ready?
Just a second, because I know this is at least I have some picture, but usually I have the pictures, for the passport and for the ID and all these things, because I'm the one who's handling everything.
That's right.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to pull out the picture from the ID. Yeah, it came.
Right.
Okay. So uh 1 minute. It should be share.
You should be able to share, yeah?
Uh, yeah, it only says okay. Share. Okay, you can see it now.
Yep, we can see it. It's a bit blurry, but you can see it.
Yeah. This is what I have for now. So as I said, I've always been like the good girl, do everything without asking, good at school, and this what was mattering for my father. So he came from a background where children, not only girls, children were not allowed to have any education because basically they lived in the desert. They were Bedouins. So he was like the first child in his family to get any education. And for him, that's why education was really, really important. And he didn't think like boys and girls. He made sure that we all got the best education possible. And he only focused on getting us into best school, getting us everything we needed for school. When I wanted to go for UK, he sent me to UK. I wanted to do this, he would send me to do this, until of course I started to work and I could like pay for my own education after I graduated from university. So I have always been a smooth child, and still I'm the sugar coater in the family. So I don't think that we had any disagreements at all. And the only tension comes between us because of his sister. And I think Maya already knows because she has worked with him because of this situation, because he trusted her a lot and gave her a power of attorney, and she took half of his money. So this is the only place where we get a little bit tense, that he still feels sorry because she's his sister. For me, I'm only angry about it.
I see.
Yeah, so yeah, but in general, our relationship is usually very smooth. Whatever I say also goes around, because apparently I'm the mother of of everyone, not just my mom. Whatever I tell them, they do.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
you are the oldest, right?
No, Saeed is the eldest, but still I have to tell him what to do.
Who's the eldest?
Saeed, my brother.
Oh, your brother is the eldest. Oh gosh, I always thought. Look, even I was under the impression that you are the
Yeah,
oldest.
yeah. Everyone keeps thinking I'm the eldest because I'm the bossy one.
Yeah. Right. Interesting. Well,
Yes.
we have a lot of time to see what imbalance is caused here and why and where this is coming from and what can heal. So everything can come more into balance here. Also to give you more freedom, because that's what you need, right?
Yeah, but even for the facial features, you can see that I look like my father more than my mother.
You do look like a lot like your father. This is as much as Eva looked like her mother, you look like your father.
Yeah, my mom keeps telling me your father's daughter.
Yeah, totally. And
Yeah.
when you would like to describe your relationship now to your father in a word or something, what would you say?
We are more now on the same page.
On the same page. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much, Eva, for sharing and bringing your father in. And he's quite lovely. I have met him
Yeah,
in person.
you
That is
did.
rare.
You met the entire family. I think the only one you haven't met is Sarah, right?
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, I saw in the picture. I saw
You
in the
saw her,
video.
yeah, but then yeah, she can't speak, so
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Awesome. All right. Thank you very much, Eva. So your father's with us. That's wonderful to know. Who's next? Yeah, Navjoti.
Can you see him?
Yes, we can see him.
Yeah. So that's my father. He's now almost, he'll be 76 years old in May. And well, he was the first boy in his family in a country like India. So there were a couple of sisters before him, and so he was the very, very special one to come. But interestingly, there were 6 or 7 boys that followed after him. And
Wow.
So interestingly, so all the glory, that's something that he has not shared much, but I've only gleaned from it from him in passing, that all the glory that he got was taken away very quickly, and there were too many boys after that. And
nothing special about it.
Yeah. He's what do I say? Well, he was the first one to get educated in his village and to leave the village and to come into the city. He was the first one to come out and make a life in the city and make a name. Now, yeah, with my father, what is important to note that in a country like India, there's casteism. It's very strong. So we come from one of the lower castes, the lowest of the lowest one. So he comes from a lineage of extreme rejection and shame, and being told that you're inferior. So he broke away from many of those things, and he educated himself. He made a name, and he made sure that my brother and I, we don't carry anything from that lineage, and he didn't give us those titles that would identify us from those castes. Uh,
What is
which
that?
in it, he didn't, in India, it's important to mention your caste when you join any organization, when you go to school, college, when you
All
go
right.
to
Yeah.
work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and usually, if you're from a lower caste, there's reservation for you everywhere.
Yeah.
So then, even if you are performing below average in an exam or to get into a workplace, etc., the reservation that comes out of a lower caste will entitle you to enter. So he did
Mm-hmm.
not want that for my brother and I. He didn't want anything related to this casteism to come upon us. So it was a big thing for him. He raised us without all of it.
And how do
We
you do that then? If you're supposed to mention your caste?
Yeah, he did not put it in the birth certificate, and he
Ah.
didn't. Yeah, he chose not to. So then, we and he kept us away from the village where all these extremities exist socially. So in that sense, now that I'm grown up and I see how embedded this is in India, and how terrible it can be for people from certain castes in India, I think it was huge wisdom and huge courage on his part. So I'm extremely grateful to him for that. That I think of myself as a normal person, which usually people from my caste will never even dare to think in India.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So for that, I love him very much. There was a lot that I could achieve professionally, personally, because of all that he invested in me.
Mm-hmm.
There is still a love-hate relationship between us. There are certain things from time to time can really explode between us. He's extremely short-tempered, and he can be raging at times. So, but
Well, you
yeah,
can see the anger in the picture, can't you?
yeah, he is a very, very, very angry person.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he used to beat me up a lot also, but somehow there is a soft corner with him which I could never find with my mother.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So two angry people married. Yeah?
I don't know about. I still don't understand with my mother what was the problem. I don't know. I've always seen her as angry, but I don't know. She says it's because of what he did to me that she's angry. I don't know. But it's true. They're both very hard, very
Mm-hmm.
hard. So yes,
Wonderful.
that's my.
And how would you describe now your relationship to your father?
Well, it is love hate and
Love hate. Mm-hmm.
yeah, love hate, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
And his name is?
Lamber Singh. Lamber Singh.
Birthday.
So yeah, one thing, because we're doing family constellation, so there is a family name. So his actual name is Lamber Singh Heer, and Heer is the part that identifies our caste. So he stopped using it, and he didn't add that to our names also. So that
Mm-hmm.
part of our name is gone.
Ah, yeah. So he has paved the way for you to more freedom already.
Yes, 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 yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, in terms of his duties as a father for us socially, that's
Mm-hmm.
a huge gift. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for sharing it with us and all the explanation. That was very interesting. It's wonderful in an international group like we are to learn so many different things about the different cultures. It's really amazing, I have to say, what we get to learn here and the people we got to meet here and all the bravery they do, right? Normal people and very brave and fearless, fighting for things they are close to their heart, they value. Right. So now it's my turn to share the screen again.
Isn't it interesting that I didn't want to speak about my dad?
Ah,
And
my goodness, and we
clearly
forgot you. No,
we all don't want to speak about him
no.
either.
Thank you for
I was
speaking
just
up.
wondering. Yeah.
Thank you
I
for
was just
speaking up.
wondering.
You,
Right
you
before
I
will.
saying that, I was like, okay, did I miss her? When did she go?
Yeah, but
It
there's
was the
something
same
in it,
for
isn't it,
me.
that I didn't want to speak about him, and I don't know. Anyway, let me.
Yeah.
But then I also I spoke up for him, didn't I?
Mhm.
Anyway,
Oh, you found
so
a
this,
photo.
yeah, I asked my sister, and so she sent me this yesterday. Yeah, so
Fantastic. Yes.
the only photo I have of him actually was of his thumb from a passport photo.
Oh.
So I now have this. So this is my dad. His name is Syed Mazhar Ali Zaidi. He was born in 1929, and so witnessed in and born in India. So in some ways witnessed the Second World War and also the partition of India. He came. I feel really sad talking about it. I don't know why, but anyway, he came to the UK in 1964 to study and came at the request of Wilson and President Kennedy's private secretaries to do some work in antiquities. So he was one of a few people that could speak like ancient Arabic, Sanskrit, Latin, English, or I think he knew about 7 different languages.
Wow.
So he probably has traveled more in the British Isles than I did, because, you know, imagine this man going to Belfast in the 1960s.
Yeah.
So he went all over the UK, because the antiquities that they stole from the Indian subcontinent were split throughout the UK. So he went back to Pakistan every now and then. And in a trip in 1972, I'm not quite sure how my parents' marriage was arranged, but they met and they got married pretty much immediately, and then moved to the UK. And they married in March, and I was born prematurely in December.
So
and
your
the
father
story,
was quite older than your mother.
20 years older than my mum. And within less than a year, he went from being a single man to a married man to a father. And he hadn't finished his PhD. And so I think when I came along, he essentially had a decision to make, which was to either accept money from his very wealthy family or to give up his PhD. And he didn't finish. And I, you know, I often wonder what his life would have been like had he finished, because many of his peers ended up being professors at universities and, you know, very prominent business owners within the UK, etc. So the story goes that, or what I've been told, is that part of the reason I was born prematurely is because my dad kicked my mom down the stairs. And so you can imagine what their relationship was like. And so I'm the oldest. When when my mum was pregnant with the 4th child, my dad decided to kidnap us and take us back to Pakistan and told us that our mum was dead.
All of you?
Sorry?
All of you, all 3 children?
The 3 children, and she was pregnant with the 4th. And basically, when he got there, he then said to me, so I was 5 at the time, and he said to me, oh, you know, something or other, you're responsible for your sisters. And then he went off. And in that time, my mum didn't have her passport and she couldn't travel. So she had to wait for the 4th child to be born. And then essentially went, got passports, sold everything that she had, traveled to Pakistan. And when she got there, she basically said to her brothers, I'm not leaving until I get my children. Or no, she said, I'm not coming into your house until I get my kids. And then within a very short space of time, we were reunited with her.
Another very brave woman, isn't it?
Honestly, I mean, I'm literally only alive because of her, you know. And so eventually, I mean, I won't go into the detail. Eventually, she comes back here. My dad said all the sweet talk and everything else, and they got together again, and then had a 5th child. And the 5th child died of a cot death, but my dad blamed my mum.
What is it? What did he die of? She died of?
Cot death. Sudden infants.
Sudden infant syndrome. Yeah.
Yeah. So all of that time we were living in a 1-bedroom flat, which really means that all of us were sleeping in one bed on the floor in the living room. And that's where the child died. So what's next? My parents eventually split up, and that happened when I was 7. And I felt really sorry for my mum, but actually I felt a huge amount of freedom for myself. And only recently I've asked my mum why she did that. And she said it's because he moved from hitting her to starting to hit me. And it's interesting, isn't it? She was like, anyway. He died in 1996, 97 in Pakistan. And I was at university in the time. And when my mum was trying to call me, I got like 20 missed calls. And I just thought, oh, my mum's just trying to you know, I don't know, ask me if I bought tomatoes today. Because sometimes she would do that. And so I ignored her. And then eventually when she actually spoke to me, I felt so much guilt about the fact that I didn't answer those calls, or I didn't respond quicker. He actually, when he moved back to London after they split up, he used to live in the same area as us. And I did EMDR for this, so I'm a bit more able to speak about it. But he used to walk along the other side of the street and just look straight through me, like he didn't even recognize me. And clearly that was very upsetting. So what do I feel about my dad? Honestly, like my mother did everything, you know. She was the one that got us housing. You know, she was the one that I remember times when we had no money, and I don't know how she did it, but she made sure that we still had something to eat. Actually, the irony of all of this is that my dad was very education focused, and he was very happy when I was born, and he was like, I'm so pleased that this is a girl. And my mum tells me that, you know, he changed my nappies, which actually for a man in the 1970s was just really odd, you know. So there's something about his innate character which is good. I just didn't see that. And so I spent a lot of my life trying to have no feelings towards him, because I knew that if I did, then I would get really, really angry. And when I go there, I do get frustrated and angry because but then I think about his circumstances, and, you know, the fact that he witnessed war and he lived through partition, and I feel really sorry for him. And I'm doing this work. So hold on. So I'm 50. I was 50 in December, and my mum's mid-70s. And the reason I'm doing this work is because I want what was happening to stop. And I know that it can stop with me if I do some of this work.
That's correct. And you do it for your children, of course.
Absolutely, you know, because I don't want them to carry the burden of some of this stuff.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful thing to do. And that's the greatest service a mother can do for their children.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing and resisting my attempt to go with your subconscious mind as a as a partner in crime and not give you the chance to talk about your father. Wonderful. So thank you for that. Wonderful. So now that we are complete, we move on and see what we have for the next hour that we spend together. So here comes my chart. So we have introduced our fathers. In Bert Hellinger's orders of love, the second order of love, the father comes first before the mother, right? But you have seen from my chart, I put the mother first because in my observations, the mother comes first. Yeah, that is a little bit different. I just let you know if you read literature and you see old videos, then you see that Bert Hellinger puts the father first, right? That has a good reason, obviously, because he secures the system. But this is old school thinking. Nowadays, you can't say that anymore. And how do you know that? Who comes first is through observation, when a representative for mother and father is put up, and who is put to the right side and who is on the left. Who's on the right side is the one who comes first because they are securing the family. And it could be nowadays, and it most often is as well, the mother, not the father. Yeah. So again, we are going with a phenomenology approach, and we are changing with what we observe, right? And that's what we observe, right? Of course, there can be the situation that the representatives are put like right is the mother, left is the father, but there is a disturbance and they move away from each other, and they and there's movement in, and they are not happy with this arrangement. That is another thing, right? But if they are happy with that, the representative of the mother is on the right side and the representative of the father is on the left side, and they are happy and they stand together and they are forming this intimate relationship that you see in parents who are in the right place, then you know, in this family system, in this family, in this generation, the mother is securing the system, the family. Yes, Saida.
Can I ask a question about this? So I wonder, because I see a lot of women taking the role of what a father might do, and I wonder what your thoughts are about that. So putting the mother on the right, does that then reinforce the fact that she's taking that role of the father?
So that's a good question. We are not putting anybody. We see how the representative wants to position themselves. So we are not interfering with anything. We are observing. So we see. We don't say. That's a good point. And of course, we are at the beginning of the training, so you don't know that. We don't say to the representatives, okay, you stand here to the right, yeah? And let's say the representative of a mother, where we expect that she is securing the system, and then the father's to the left. We don't say that. We say to them, where, if you see yourself in a room, especially in the virtual environment, where would you stand in relationship to your husband? And then the representative would say, I'm standing away or towards or next or opposite. They would just say that. And if they say, I'm standing next to my husband, then you would ask on which side. And then they would say, they would think about it, and they would feel it into it, and then they would say either right or left. So in the old school thinking, the appropriate position of the mother was on the left side of the father. Yeah. And that's still the case in many, many families. There's nothing wrong with that. But when the representative of the mother says, no, I'm standing on the right side of the father, of the husband, and you ask, how do you feel there? Does it feel true? Does it feel right to you? And says, yeah, that feels totally right. And then you ask the father, the husband, how do you feel at the left side of the mother? And he said, I feel great. Yeah, then you know there is not a disorder. It is just that in this relationship, the mother is obviously secure in the family. And nowadays we have so many single moms that we are working with, yeah? And obviously, and often the father is not even paying child maintenance or something like that. So there's no wonder that then in a family constellation, the mother would stand on the right side of the father, because she's obviously securing the family, the children's needs, and not the father. Yeah, so that will be okay. So what I want to say is, it doesn't mean that this is a disorder and the family constellation has just come to a conclusion when the mother moves happily to the left side of the husband, like it was a little bit before, like, you know, that was a little bit before. But I wouldn't say that anymore. That's not my observation at all anymore.
Just for clarification, Maya, when you say right and they stand in front of us, is it to my right that?
No, to the right of the husband.
Okay, to the right.
The right
of the
shoulder.
husband.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
You
so
don't.
whenever
You like, you as a facilitator, you are not in the room. You are not here. You are not part of a
Okay.
constellation. So there is no
Okay.
towards me or where. You are just looking at how the representatives are positioning themselves towards each other. That's
Okay,
what you
towards
observe.
each other.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, right. So remember, we said before, mother has success has mother's face. There's another saying from Bert Hellinger: addictions have father's face, right? And that is also true, and you can observe that over and over and over again in family constellation. When there is this disturbed relationship towards the father, very likely the child or the child of the child, because sometimes generations are skipped, is developing an addictive behavior. Yeah. So when Eva was talking about her father who had an alcoholic problem, it is very likely that when we do a family constellation, Eva, or maybe you have done that before with your father, that it turns out that his relationship to his father was interrupted. Very likely, yeah? Or the father to the grandfather, or both.
You know, I think that in Baltic states, it's like, no, we are Western Union, of course, not Western Union, but Western part of Europe. So we are not like that kind of part like Russia, but because of Soviet Union, I think that's the background of mostly families in Baltic states, in Poland, even in Sweden a little bit, that because of that, like this alcohol addiction, it's in generations, like even further away. If I am talking with other like people, even from different cities, different countries like Estonia, Lithuania, they have the same. It's like really through the generations, grandfather, father, brother, and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's interesting, eh? And then you need to know what is the sole cause of this pattern. And that's why we do family constellation, because we find it out. So, but not only alcohol, also drugs. There are all kinds of addictions. I'm just thinking of a case with a sex addiction where the client or was, I think, the partner or the ex-partner of a client has a clear sex addiction, always needed to go to street workers, to sex workers, I want to say, and had other women to mess around with, and so on and so on. That is also an addiction, right? Especially when they don't want, when they love their family and they, but obviously every addiction is destructive in the wake, so it will always destroy the family. Yeah, if it's drugs, if it's alcohol, if it's sex, if it's, you name it, whatever you can be addicted to, that will in the end destroy the family. Right? It's hard to keep a family together with the father having an addiction. So gambling, of course, gambling is a biggie one, right? How many fathers are gambling away all the money of the family, right? So this is all, remember the sentence, and we will look at it in more greater detail later on. Of course, addiction has father's face. That's where we look towards it for the reason. So then we have father and son relationships. They can be quite similar to mother-daughter relationship because they are so close, and fathers expect from their sons to follow in their footsteps, and not every son wants to do that. So that is exactly the same, which we deal with in family constellations. That the soul movement is different to the expectations they have towards each other. Yeah. Then, of course, we have father and daughter, which is a very interesting relationship. There's a bit of a pattern going on. I've seen that often, that the father, either the father or the daughter, they are putting themselves in the position as the partner. So either the father wants the daughter to be the partner, or the daughter. Who said they were baking for their father when they were 7 already? Was it Eva? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can see their tendency, that you wanted to put yourself in the position as the partner towards your father, and that would, of course, burden the relationship to your mother, right? Because the mother is the partner and not you. So in a family constellation, we would say, we talk about the words in the next module, but I just say it here because it fits well in. We would say, to acknowledging what is, we would let the daughter in the family constellation say to the mother, I am the better mother, I am the better partner for my father than you. Yeah, and that's a healing movement. It moves mountains when you acknowledge what is, without trying to hide it on the soul level. The expectations are a little bit different. Father to children and children to father. Obviously, the expectation is not necessarily to nourish and care, yeah, but the expectation is to bring stability and safety into the family. And especially if the father has an addictive problem with addictions, he cannot provide that. Yeah, and then the children feel insecure. And that will result in lots of other problems that came when they are adults, that they are missing this stability and security from their father. Or the father is simply not there for several reasons. It doesn't need to be his fault. Yeah. Some women get pregnant and want to raise the child on their own, and they don't want to have anything to do with the father, for whatever reasons they have, right? And then there is this hole for the children that cannot be fulfilled, even if she does the best she can do, because this expectations of giving stability and safetyness cannot be fulfilled from the mother, although she does it, right? Because the expectation goes towards the father. The letting go from the father, however, is normally easier than from the mother, because there was not this bond in the physicality that exists when you're carrying a child, or when you are within the womb of your mother. So the letting go, and but on the other hand, there is not a process for the letting go, which starts already with giving birth, and letting go from the connection of the mother, from the womb, from the first home, and from the umbilical cord and the nourishment that is provided. There's nothing like this with the father, so there is also not a defined moment when the child is let go of the father. So some are missing this point, and then they never let go of the father, right? So in a way, it's more difficult to let go from the father, because there is no help of nature to train that. How would you do that? So that is something that you can ponder on for the next 21 hours before I see you again. What is father's love and what is children's love? And you can think about your own father and your own love for your father, or you can think about somebody else you have observed in the father-child relationship, or you think about a relative. Whatever comes to your mind when you think about father's love, or the grandfather to the father's love, or whatever. So just think of a relationship, a father-child relationship, and see through observation in a quiet moment, if you can sense what quality this love has. Of course, the best would be towards your father if you want to do that. What quality that is a little bit similar to the exercise we just had in our groups, but you do that with yourself. So you do an internal constellation. You're meeting your father, and you're representing yourself, and then the father is there, and you are also representing your father, and you just feel in what you feel. Yeah, what is the love of your father towards you? What is your love towards your father? See how it goes. Take all these exercises with a grain of salt and some light heart. You know, it doesn't cost anything, and you don't need to write an exam about it. It's for you to experience whatever wants to be experienced. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the orders in children. So there's a certain order, and I think you might have guessed it by now that we talked about. The order is strictly who comes first, right? Who comes first is the firstborn. It's the first one. And then you have the second, third, and so on and so on. That is not a problem, and this is quite logical. Everybody can perceive that. It becomes more interesting when we are integrating the lost or the forgotten children. Yeah? What happens there? And the half children, of course, right? So when you have siblings in a family constellation, it is really interesting if you place the siblings in the order that the mother says they are born, they're the representatives, obviously, they start to move, and they might like form a little gap between them, or they say something is missing on my left shoulder, or they move their swap places. Interesting things happen in a family constellation, and they all give away where is the unbalance in this family system, and where is the second order of love not obeyed, right? So siblings are standing either next to the parents, so father, mother, or mother, father, depends on, you know, the dynamic in the family. And then next to the second one is the first child, and then next to the second is the second child, and then so on and so on. The children can also facing their parents in the family constellation. They don't need to be next to them, right? They can as a row in front of them. That's also possible. Now, let's assume there is an aborted child. The children will, the representatives of the children, they will feel that. They will clearly feel that somebody is missing, and they would say it. And they also know where. So you can, with the family constellation, find out for your client who doesn't know anything about lost children in their siblings, if there was a lost child, and if so, where was it? Before or after your client, right? Where does it belong in the order, in the second order of love? And that same goes for half siblings. The half siblings belong to this family system you're looking at, also in birth order. So whenever they are born, that's where they belong. Just because they're half siblings doesn't mean they come at the end, right? They also have to have their space in the way that they fit in a timely manner, right? Miscarriages, same as abortions, they also count, and they also want to be represented in the family constellation in the row of siblings. Adopted children, now you know that, they do not belong to the family system. It could be that they belong through destiny or through action, if there's a victim-perpetrator situation or something. But just the sheer act of adopting does not create the strong bond. That's not enough, right? And you can also not construct, well, there was an advantage giving to the child because the child need a home. Most adoptions not working like this, yeah. Most adoption, the neediness was more in the parents than in the child, yeah. So there is a balance. There's always a balance. There's not somebody's not taking somebody's livelihood or giving somebody's livelihood. That's not the case. There's always an alternative for each child. So that's not the case. So we normally don't put adopted children in there as long as we don't have a strong hint that they have bond with this family system in a different way. And then, of course, we are talking about special needs and severe disease children. Of course, they belong also, like they are full member, obviously, of the family, and they also belong in the birth order. However, what I want to point out here is when a child is born like this, is Sarah born like this, Heba? Yeah. When they are born like this, there's something even more special about these children, right? Because they have not done anything that will cause this disability, right? So something is what they are carrying already, either from a past life or from the family system. So it's very interesting to look at that. Yeah. So remember that, and they might show that when you put them in the row with the siblings, they might show already something special, the representatives, something that is catching your attention. Okay, now we had just the nuclei family, mother, father, child, right? But we know to the family system also the wider family belongs as long as they're in direct bloodline. So before the parents are the grandparents, yeah? And when we are looking at 3 generations in a family constellation, be aware that an entanglement is often skipping a generation. So it's not very often that the child is entangled with the father or the mother. It is much more likely that the child is entangled with the grandfather or the grandmother. Or when you look at several generations in the family system, let's say 5, and you see a trauma in the 2nd generation, that would be father or mother, then it is not very likely that they are entangled with and repeating a pattern from their parents, but from their grandparents, which would be the great-grandparents of the client. So bear that in mind, but it's a rule that has exemptions, of course, but this is the rule. Grandparents often play a role in family constellation without being part of an entanglement because they can also be there for support. And sometimes a specific soul or family member needs the support to let go of expectations and move towards a healing movement. Yeah. So they can play a role also just purely to give support. And then we have the ancestors. These are generation 5, 6, and 7 that we are just calling ancestors. And in the new family constellation, we do not care in which generation they are. We can find out. Sometimes we place all generations one after the other, a representative for each generation that can be that can be of advantage to do that, to find out in which generation started this specific pattern. But it doesn't need to normally, because in the new family constellation, the generation that is needed to heal the family wound will show itself, and it doesn't matter. We don't need to know which generation of ancestor that was. But however, if you place ancestors in an order, obviously, then always the ones who have been born and giving birth to the next one come first. That's the same logic there. There is nothing specific. And when you find an entanglement in ancestors, then you kind of fast forward normally to the 4th, the 4th seconds, or the 3rd first generation, right? So you don't need to go to 7, from 7 to 5, from 5 to 3, from 3 to 1. It's just prolonging the process, and it's not really needed. Where's the right place of an ancestor? Well, I have to say that depends. If the ancestor is there for support, the right place is behind whoever they are supporting. Yeah. And that doesn't need to be their children. That can be all straight. Like, let's say an ancestor shows up as support for the client. The ancestor can be placed or want to place itself behind the client, right? Although there are multiple generations in between the ancestor and the client. That doesn't play a role. If they come for support, there is no specific order, second order to be obeyed. However, if they come because they are part of an entanglement and they need healing and integration, then they need to go with the second order of love. They need to find the right place where they belong. Now, applying everything I have just said to patchwork families or blended families or whatever Is there any other name that you use in your culture for these families? I know patchwork and blended families. Is there anything else? No? Are we fine with these terms?
I have a question about so some cultures have more than one wife. So how does that
Yeah.
work?
I know, and it's very interesting for me since I'm in the virtual realm. I am having clients who have that, and we actually had a really interesting family constellation in one of the workshops with one of the trainees. She is from Malaysia. Was it? But have you been there, Heba? No, I think she's from Malaysia. And she was looking at that in respect to her parents, because that was exactly the case. She had her mother and her father, and the father had other women, and they had also children. And it was interesting to see that the orders of love apply here in a way that it's really nothing special. If the wife came first, the other wife, it's like a former partner. It's kind of the role of a former partner. And if the wife came after, it's like doesn't really count to the family system. So interestingly, in the orders of love, it doesn't seem to make a big difference if a client's father has multiple wives. Certainly, there can always be a crossover through destiny or action, because they live close together, and there might happen something that is a victim-perpetrator situation. No, don't forget that. But since they are not blood related, of course they have half siblings, right? And the half siblings are just coming into the same order or row of birthdays. So they count, obviously. They are half siblings, so they are normal half siblings, right? But the other wives are not necessarily, when they came after the mother of the client, not necessarily part of the family system of the client.
That's interesting, because I mean I don't have direct experience of it, but some of the things I see is that the other wives are kind of like co-wives, so they're like co-mothers.
Yes, they do. It's almost like an adoption mother. Yeah.
So Maya, you said that the wives who came after the client's mother, they were not part of the family. But then if it was the other way around, if her mother was the second wife, then the former partner or the former wife will be a part of the family.
Yeah.
Okay. So here we talk only about wives, or also about girlfriends. If he had like a girlfriend and they were like serious and they were living together, and then he got married to someone else.
Yep, definitely. That is
Okay,
even the
so
classical case. The classical case is that there was only a girlfriend that had played a significant role. Maybe they wanted to marry, then they couldn't, or something happened. And I guarantee you that one of the children that are coming in this marriage are going to be entangled with this wife.
Okay. Or girlfriend,
or
if they didn't get married.
Yeah.
So
that's very likely.
Sorry.
Yeah, Heba first,
Sorry.
and then Najud.
Yeah. So the first partner, regardless if she was a wife or not, she becomes a part of the family for the wife who came later.
Yeah.
And her children can get entangled with her. So what if this guy just keeps jumping between women? For example, he had a girlfriend, got married to someone else, and then he went back to the girlfriend while staying with his wife. Then this wife becomes a part of the family for the girlfriend because he left her and then he came back to her, or the order
Well, it would
like
stay. So once they are part of the family system, they really don't lose this position.
Okay. So it's like
unless
the original arrangement.
it's destiny relationship, which is temporarily. That's the only exemption. Then they would probably they have a timestamp, like they expire, if you will. But every other member of the family stays it for life, for not even life, for eternity, actually. Yeah.
Okay. So she got her first position. She remains there regardless of what happens later.
Yeah. One exemption, and we will talk about that, when the later one has children. The later one has children with the same man. Yeah. Then this family, the nuclei family that is new, comes before the old nuclei family. Yeah, because now the father needs to look after the new children. Yeah, but in a multiple wife situation, when they all live together and they are all cared for in the same way, then there can never be an imbalance as such. The imbalance happens when the new partner, more in the Western world, actually, I would say, when the new partner has children and the father is only focusing on his new family and neglecting the first family, and maybe not paying for maintenance, or or is not seeing his children or anything like this. That would cause more imbalance, as if the father looks after all the children, right? In a multiple.
So then in this situation, the position will be flipped. So the second wife will be part of the first wife's family?
The second wife will be part of the first wife's. I don't think so.
No,
So
even if he has children with the second one, and the priority
they never
moves
become
to
they never become. Remember, you always have to decide for whom are you looking at, for whom do you do the constellation, because every single individual has a different family system, right? So when we are thinking about the first wife, then the next wives that come are not part of the family system of the first wife. However, her children are part of the family system, and if they have half siblings, then they would be part of her family system as well as half siblings of their children. But since when this wife is having a family constellation, then she is a first generation. Her children are not the first generation, because it's her family constellation. So it starts with her. So even the half children would not be looked at in this family constellation. When she's as a mother said, I want to look at my family for my youngest son, yeah, who's maybe 5 years old, then the youngest son is first generation, and all his siblings, including the half siblings, are part of his family system. Yeah, but not the mother of his half sibling. They are not part of his family system, right? When you look at the family system from when the father with multiple wives, when the father is the client and he's having a family constellation, I would suggest that all the wives with whom he has children are part of his family system. Yeah. Because he has children with all of these wives. If he has a wife without his children, don't know. We have maybe like a former partner, right? But the fact that there are children is always hinting that the family dynamic goes on, that the family system is continuing, and that is, for a family system, it's strong, right? When there are no children, then the family system is not continuing in this lineage. So it's not so strong. Yeah. Okay. Good. And Navjoti, sorry, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt earlier. I was asking a girlfriend, we were talking about girlfriends earlier. So if it's girlfriend was, let's say, 30 years ago, from 30, but she was significant, does that still come into the family system?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe it was a girlfriend who was not very long, but it was significant, and she probably is existing in the person's life. So is that also part of the family?
If it has a strong impact, yeah.
Thank you.
So the way you think of former partners is, if the former partner, and that's the same with the first wife in a multi-marriage, because as far as I am know and learned from my client or my trainee from Malaysia, is that the first wife needs to agree to the husband to take more wives. Like there must be
not
like,
always. I mean,
not
that's
always.
Technically, but not always.
Okay. So
that's where the conflict comes in.
Yeah, that's probably the conflict. But if that goes by the books and the first wife agrees to the other wives, right? Then that is like so she remains the status of the first wife, and then she would, in a family constellation, come first, of course, from the perspective of the husband as the first, and then the second, and then the third wife, right? Okay, so that's not changing. I don't know. I've never seen another. So again, phenomenology approach. We need to see such a situation where this is not happening like this. Happen like this, probably without the agreement of this first wife or something like that, or there's a betrayal or whatever is going on there, to see how the second order of love is there, right? And it would be very interesting to see.
Yeah, in my
Okay.
experience, most second or third wives are not. It's not the first wife doesn't agree to it, or there's tension in there. But I'll just say that and then stop.
Very good. Yeah. So that's a good point. We think, of course, about tensions and this and that, but in a family constellation, we see the soul movement. And this can be very well that all the wives in a family constellation are very loving towards each other. You see? So you never know until you see it. Yeah. So always don't assume anything until you see it. Without expectations, represented by other people. So I think I talked about pretty much everything. The children are in birth order and patchwork families. The former partner is before the new partner until the new partner has a mutual child. Then the new partner comes before the old partner. The old partner is still part of the family system, obviously, right? But when we're talking about the second order of love, we are not talking about the first order of love. We are not talking about belonging, because they all belong to the family system. We're talking about in which order they belong, yeah? And who comes first, and who you place to the right, and who you place first, and who is next when you are conducting, facilitating a family constellation. So if there's a child, then they form a new family system. So this family system comes first, but the former partner is still part of his family system, obviously, and also the children. The children are in the order of their birth. They come always in the order of birth. The bond to the yeah.
I'm sorry. If the new partner does not have a child, does then
she doesn't? No, they don't come first. It's always a family with children who comes first. Yeah. The bond to the first partner is greater than to the next, and you might know that from your own experience, right? Even though the love is less. Yeah, that's often the case, no? So to break the bond to the first one always feels guilty, and this is where the bond comes from. So the first partner is always part of the family system because of this underlying, not acknowledged feeling of guilt that comes up. Now we have 20 more minutes to talk about the order and organization. And now it is completely different to family systems. However, in the end, you will see it's the same, but it sounds completely different because you're not talking mother, father, children, grandparents, and so on. Oh, Navjot, you? What's?
Sorry. So when we reference first partner, do we mean the first partner ever, or we mean the first wife?
We mean the first significant partner.
Okay.
The first significant who might have become a partner if not something had happened, whatever.
Whether or not they had kids.
Yeah. Especially the one who had no children. Yeah. Because otherwise they come first anyhow. Okay. So in the orders of organization, we are not thinking about who was born first. We are talking in functions, time spent, education, responsibility. Hang on, I bring that back so you can see it. Function, time spent, education, and responsibility. That's what we want to know, and then we know where to place, or where we would expect the representative of an organization constellation to place themselves. And then we see if there's a disturbance in the order or not. If they're all moving towards the right order, the same as in family constellation, then we know there's no disturbance. But most likely they are not moving into their right place, because otherwise the client wouldn't come up with an issue, right? So we were not expecting that they place themselves in the right order. So we need to look at what is the right order here. So first of all, oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. I have to leave you for a minute, yeah? I'll be right back. Okay, right. So I'm back. So what is the right order here in organization? Now think about who came first. We are talking about the second order of love, who comes first, right? Of course, which is often overlooked, the first one is always the founder, And if the organization is old and exists for a long time, it's maybe a big organization, it's often overlooked to let the founder be represented, right? Especially because the client is not talking about. They might don't even know the founder. We don't need to know the founder. We just put a representative for the founder there. That's all we need to do. If it's in corporate company, then you would also put the shareholders there because they are the owners of the company, right? The representative for the shareholders and so on. So just think when you do organization constellation about the structure of an organization and who was actually there, who laid the foundation for this organization to exist. Yeah. So this also, when you do organization constellation, you need to educate yourself also in the structures of organization. Yeah. So you can ask the right questions to your client. Then an interesting fact is that Bert Hellinger is teaching, in organizations, the administration comes before the production. Right? That's another very interesting fact. Right? And then the administration is placed to the right side of the CEO. Remember the right shoulder. So the administration is securing the organization. Without the administration, the organization wouldn't be able to produce anything. Okay, we have Navjoti first and then Saida. What is your question, Navjoti?
Yeah, like we have just one mother or one father, but you can have many founders. So do you acknowledge all founders or do you acknowledge?
You can, but you can, you can find out if there's a disturbance, because if there are many founders, then you might have to put the right orders of the founders in there as well, right? So if that's the case, maybe the disturbance in the organization is coming from there, that there's one forgotten, one is dismissed. That's often the case if there are more. So yeah, you have definitely to look at it in greater detail if there's more than one.
How do you determine the order of founders if they all were founders at the same time?
You would not put in a specific order there. You never do. You'd ask the representative to place themselves and observe.
First, second, third, and founders.
No, not within the founders. I wouldn't say so. Unless there is one founder and then the others came later, of course. Yeah. Heba, what? No, Saida, what was your question?
What do you mean by administration?
Every people or departments that are working to do the administration, what is it? In German it's Verwaltung. The translation is administration. I'm not sure if there are many different meanings to this word.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. What's the German word? How do you spell it?
Verwaltung. Verwaltung.
Verwaltung.
Verwaltung.
Okay, thank you. I might come back and ask you later. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I have to think about that. I'm not quite sure how to answer this question. Yeah. Okay. So you have the administration, and then you have maybe in a larger organization a CEO. And you think, oh, the CEO is the one, in charge. But in fact, it is a CEO alone can do nothing. Yeah, in a larger organization needs the administration to support the work, right? So that administration is in the right place when it plays to the right side of the CEO, and not the CEO on the right side of the administration, right? And then we have, after this, founder and administration and CEO, then comes the people who are doing the actual work. In a hospital, that would be the doctors or the researchers. In another organization, it would be the engineers, or in a law firm, it would be the lawyers, and so on. Yeah, so you get the picture. So the people that you might think are the heart and soul of the organization are coming 1, 2, 3 in the 4th place. Yeah, due to the second order of love. Within the group, now let's say you have a law firm with 20 lawyers, of course, then within the 20 lawyers, there's another order. And there lies a problem that you need to look at. So within the group of the same people that are there, that are doing the same job, the right order is the time spent. How long have they spent in this particular firm? In this example of a law firm, who was there the longest? Doesn't need to be the oldest. It doesn't need to be the most educated. Doesn't need to be the one who earns the most money. It is just simply who was there the longest. Or when you have a disturbance in the administration, then you have to look who was there the longest. And if who was there the longest not put to the right side, but somebody else, then you have the disturbance of the second order there, right there. Right? That's how you decide. How did you decipher it? Who was there first comes first. You always think of that, right? The same as birth. Who was there first comes first, even if the new department leader has a higher education, or they have to, even if they have a higher education, they have to take the place of the last, and respecting the first, and asking the first for support. And this happens not very often in an organization. And now you know why there is a statistic in larger organizations that they spend over 80% their time and money sometimes with themselves and not with their customers, because they are so inefficient, because they are dealing with internal things the whole time. And that's why they don't obey the second order of love. Otherwise, it would flow. And they wouldn't need to spend any time there. It would all happen naturally. Okay, I would like to make a demonstration on the board, on my figurine board with you. Let me just check if there's anything else coming. Before I share, I want to show you what to prepare for tomorrow. You have a photo of your partner or ex-partner handy, please. Yeah? And if you happen to have no partner and never had a partner and you don't want to have a partner, I think that doesn't apply to any of you. Then you would kind of put a picture of your dream man there, right? Okay. So we stop here, and I will share my screen, my board, my figurine board with you. Here you go. So here are my figurines. That's how I work in one-on-one session. And let me just take everything else away here. So I've got some space to work. So this is a demonstration, not a family constellation, but I'm happy. We have 10 minutes. I'm happy to, if anybody of you works in an organization that is kind of normally structured, to take that as an example. Anybody? You all freelancers? Nafjyoti?
I work in an organization. I work in an organization.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What organization is?
It's a school.
A school, wonderful. Okay, so it's a school, a private school or from government?
Private.
That's even better. Okay, then choose a figurine. Here, let me put the light on. The light came off. Then choose a figurine for the founder of the school. Any figurine here.
Well, yeah, that's interesting because there was more than one founder.
Okay, then take more than one figurine.
Is it okay if I don't remember the exact number?
No, yeah, absolutely. You don't need the exact number. For the sake, just put 2 or 3 there.
Yeah. Okay. So there's this red one just right next to the table, the big red one. No, the other one. No, the other one. Yes. Okay. So that's one. And then I take the yellow next. Yes, and the green.
All right. So these are the founders.
Yes. There
Well,
might be others, but I'll take the 3 main ones.
So the founders, were they all women?
No, there was one male and maybe a few other women. Yeah.
Because you have just chosen 3 women here.
Oh, I did.
That's
Okay.
fine. All right. So every one of you, what comes next? So we have the founders now. Who comes next? You remember, eh?
Administration.
Administration. Is there one person in the administration or more than one?
Yeah, there is one, and then this one person works with a group, but this one person is at the top. Yeah, the director.
The director, and then there are others that are working with the
there's
director, not teachers.
Yeah, the head. No, not teacher. The heads of departments. So like
Yeah.
the pre-primary head, the primary head, the high school head, the admin head. They all work together with the director.
Okay. So how do we want to tackle that? How many figurines do we need?
For administration.
For the administration?
1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's a team of 4. The administration includes the director, so including him, there are 5.
5. So I would call the director the CEO.
Okay, yeah,
With 4 administration and the director, yeah? Okay,
yeah.
so we just take 4 random figurines here. That's the administration, and then that will be the CEO or the director, okay? The other founders.
Just to clarify, the founder is also the director, the red founder.
Ah, that's the director. So he has, okay, he has 2 functions. All right, so we put them in between here. That's interesting. We see how that works out. And then, so is this the director, which we call the CEO, is also fun? No, that actually works out well. And then comes the administration, and then the teachers, obviously. Right? So how many teachers are there?
At least maybe 70 to 80.
Okay, so that's a large school. So we won't take that many figurines. We take a group here, and that would be the teachers, right? 5, right? And then choose a figurine for yourself as one of the teachers. You are our client. It's our model constellation.
Now there are other employees at the school. Do they also count, like the housekeeping staff?
Yeah, why not? Sure, housekeeper. Yeah.
Okay,
Choose a representative for other staff.
Yeah. The peons and housekeeping. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So
just one for the other stuff. Yeah.
Okay, I'll take the green one next to the orange one. Yeah. No. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Fine. Very good. Right. So obviously we don't have time. Only 5 minutes left to do a real constellation now. Yeah. But I will demonstrate now that we have all the figurines. If the client would, how the client would put the figurines if there would be no disturbance, and how would be a typical disturbance look like. Yeah. So first of all, these are the founders because I asked for them. They are represented, and one of them is the CEO. So he comes to the right. Yeah. So then we have the administration here. Yeah. That goes in front of the founders, and then because we have here one crossover, that is the founder who is also at the administration, the director, and he should stand to the right of the administration. So we move them over here just for the sake of this demonstration. So the founder is closer to his other buddies who are behind him or her, whoever that is. Yeah. So that would be then. Then next to here would be all the teachers where they are already. So the way the field has already placed the figurines would hint at a certain order. The question is, where does this come? Where do the housekeeping, where do all the services, where do the other stuff, where do they go? And now we ask the client, which is Navjoti, yeah, to place these two figurines, just intuitively. Where does the green figurine go, Navjoti? Where does it feel right? Does it go over here, or here, or here, or here, or here, or here? Where would you put it? You're muted.
Well, yeah, next to the black figurine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
On this side?
Yes,
Yeah?
yes, on that side, yes.
Okay. And where would you put your own figurine? Oh, hang on. Which are you? Are you this? No, you're the red.
Yeah, I am in the administration.
Okay. But this is the teachers. The administration is here.
Yeah, so I'm part of the administration.
Which figurine have you chosen for yourself?
Well, I didn't think about that. But oh, so it has to be what is already on the table?
Be a new one.
Yeah. Well, I'll take this pink one. Yeah.
The pink one. Okay.
Yeah,
So where would you place the pink one?
Where next to the red one?
Yes.
No, sorry. I mean, in the administration.
Yeah.
I'm part of the administration. Yeah, no, between red and yellow.
Okay.
The other yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
Right. So we had two questions. First of all, where do the other staff go in an organization like a private school, right? And interestingly, it goes close to the teachers. So this is supporting the work of the teachers. Hmm?
Yes.
Which sounds also to me quite in order. So it doesn't.
I'm sorry. I might want to draw them closer to the administration. Is that okay?
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Like this?
Almost in front of them though.
In front.
Facing them. Yeah.
Like
but
this?
Closer. Yeah. As a group, we had put them as a group, so that looked more accurate. Yes.
Like this?
And then yes, and closer to the red one.
Which one?
The group is closer to the CEO, the red one. They're all and then yes, and now next to this group is the green.
On this side?
Yes. Thank you. That yes.
Very good. Very good. Very good. So this almost is the so this I have to ask you, Navjoti, do you like to work in your school?
I like to, but it's been very turbulent. It's easing off in the last 6 months. It's been different. But
Very good. So now we have when we look at the order, we see that here are the founders, so they are placed. There's the founders, also the CEO, right to the administration. In a family constellation, we would now go through the figurines and ask the representatives how they feel, if they feel in the right place, because that all can move. And when it moves, it shows the imbalance. At the moment, it doesn't show much because we have just placed them, right? Because I wanted to demonstrate how that would look. Imagine that would be real people in a workshop. They would stand like this. Then you would see, they all stand in the right order. If they not start to move, which you have to expect that they're going to move, of course, right? Because you are never looking at an issue and then everything seems to look really, really okay, and everybody seems to be in their happy space. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
you're right. You're right. No, if that was where the question was coming from, you're right. All of us love the space.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it was my introduction into the space that perhaps caused turbulence for me and in turn for everyone, but it's settling now.
Mm-hmm.
But yes,
Very good.
we all do love. Yeah.
So the way it is placed is it would indicate to me that there is the second order of love is pretty much obeyed in this organization. But I can see that the figurine that Navjoti shows for herself has an issue. Yeah. And this issue is not so much within the organization. Yeah. Okay. And for me, well, that's going too far. Now it looks like a mother. There is something going on with her mother. Right? But then now we would be in the middle of a family constellation and we don't want to go there, and our time is up anyhow. So that was just a quick demonstration.
How do you identify that? Just because of the position?
Yeah. Yeah. And the colors and everything else. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So it will all come up in the course of the next 1.5 years. That will all reveal itself and transform anyhow. Okay, so let's stop here. Any other last questions to today's teaching content before I let you go?
Forgive me, Maya, I still don't understand what administration represents, what the word means, what the role of that is.
Okay,
So
that's the ones who are doing the invoices and who are buying whatever is needed for, and who are filing everything, and who are probably interviewing the teachers and scrutinizing them.
Excellent.
And what else does a organization administration does in the
Tell me
school?
that a little bit. Yeah. So, Saida, basically, administration is same people you can find in every company, no matter what they do, whether it's an insurance company, telecommunication, construction, whatever. The administration is always the same. It would be the HR, as Maya said, the people who hire and fire and all the people
Yep.
stuff. The accountants, the finance,
Get it.
you know.
Thank you.
These common function, it's the administration. Every company needs them, and then the operation would be different depending on the activity of the company.
That's
you.
the distinct. That's very helpful. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you both.
Thank you, Heba. That's
You're
lovely.
welcome.
Clear. Okay, so was this the only question we had to today's 3 hours? Nice. Wonderful. Wonderful. So I leave you with this. Let it sink in. Don't think about it too much. You have a little bit of a homework. And remember, you want to think about father's love and children's love towards their father, or feel it more than thinking. And then I see you in 21 hours again, and you have a picture of your partner or ex-partner. Okay?
Yeah, just a question. Sorry, last question about the homework, Maya. And now, if the partner was, if it's a former partner, but it's from your teenage years, from when you were 16, but it was intense or significant, does that also count as a former partner?
Whoever partner you choose is what you choose.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just one, not two. You have to decide.
So one.
However, if you have children with the partner, then definitely take the father of your children. Yeah, definitely take your father of your children. Okay. All right. See you tomorrow. Bye.